Welcome, everyone. We are so happy to see so many of you joining us again for session 2. It's so exciting to have you guys here with us today. If we can go to our next slide, we definitely wanted just to know who we have in the room with us today. So if you're just logging on, please just make sure you can put that in the chat for us to know. And we're just going to go over a few preliminaries before we get into our session today, but we want to say welcome. In our next slide, we want to just talk around Cox Campus. Of course, that is our foundation and the foundation of our work. And if you have not already done so, please create a membership. It is completely free and always accessible to you. Has the slide changed, Ashley, on your end? Okay, yep, yes, there it is. Okay, yep. So
there we go.
Always create a membership, just a friendly reminder. And to tell you a little bit about Cox Campus in our next slide, this session will be accessed on Cox Campus website. So if you happen to miss it or you want to share it with others, you can let them know that it is going to be on Cox Campus. And of course, for all of you that are already members, you've already probably are used to seeing that we have many courses on there. We have resources. There's also a discussion community post there. And again, it's absolutely free due to the generous support of our donors. And we'll post the link in the chat, coxcampus.org. And just to let you know that our courses also they also qualify for professional development credit through right from the start and ISAT. If we can go to the next slide. Today's session, we will be focusing on relationships are the heart of coaching. And some goals that we're going to focus on today and lift up today in our next slide is that coaches will be acquainted with their own beliefs and core values before entering into a coaching relationship. Coaches will also be prepared for the initial conversation. We're going to look a little deeper into those initial conversations. We're also going to understand the need for building that trust in those coaching relationships and what elements that trust is comprised of. And so you may hear, if you're not familiar with the course yet, CPR and L.E.A.D. So we're focused on that. And also coaches will have a detailed knowledge of the 5 stages of change. If we can go to our next slide. Just to let you know a little bit about who you have with you today. I hope most of you were with us last time, and I'm very interested to know who is new with us this time. I'm seeing some wonderful places that you're coming from. So just to let you know a little bit about myself, my name is Carenza Harris, and I have been in education for 19 years. I love being a catalyst for change and eradicating illiteracy in our communities and all over the world. It really gives me great joy to provide the tools of the science of language and literacy in every adult that's involved in a child's ecosystem. Just making sure that I'm ensuring that all children will be afforded the opportunity to choose their own path in life. And on a personal side note, in my free time, I just love watching movies with my 90-year-old grandmother because she talks throughout the entire movie. But without further ado, I would love to have my partner in crime here introduce herself. Go ahead, Ashley.
All right, thank you, Carenza. Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that you are able to join us today. My name is Ashley Montgomery, and I'm also a lead instructional coach at Rollins. I've been in the education field for 13 years, and I am passionate about educational equity because I believe all children deserve to have equal access to resources and quality education to develop their knowledge and skills that they need to become successful and prepared to thrive in our society. And in my free time, I love to travel and spend time outdoors with my family. So again, we're so glad for you all to be here with us today. We are going to jump right into the content around ways that we can foster positive coaching relationships. So if you were able to join us in session 1, we explored how adult learners come with all types of prior experiences, knowledge, values, biases, and beliefs in our backpacks. So why is this important? It's important because our beliefs drives our interactions with others, and some of our beliefs serve as powerful truths that help make meaningful connections. But before we can build strong coaching relationships with others, we must first understand how our own beliefs, our experience, and values have an impact on those that we coach. So knowing yourself is the first step in really cultivating those authentic coaching relationships. So let's take a moment. We're going to reflect on our open question. And our opening reflection is thinking about your life. What are some of the beliefs about relationships and the way you interact with other people? What experiences have led you to those beliefs, and why are they so important to you? So we want to take about 2 minutes to think about this question. And when you're ready to share, please feel free to either drop your answer in the chat and Corinza and I will uplift that for you, or feel free to come off of mute to discuss. So we'll give you around 2 minutes to kind of think about that. If you're ready, you can feel free to drop your answer in the chat or come off mute to speak to the group. Okay, the Queen of Falk, want to uplift what she said in the chat. Relationships are built on trust. Exactly. You have to have trust in order to even build a relationship. You have to trust one another. Thank you, Ms. Falk. Communication. Rachel.
I see. Yes.
It's great. Trust is a process. Yes, it is. You cannot gain trust immediately. It definitely is a process.
Respect on both sides. Stephanie.
Oh, we have a lot coming in. You guys are awesome.
Empathy, listening.
Yes.
Sharing with each other in honesty and respect, Ms. Angela.
Relationships are mutual. Thank you, Nathan. Okay, these are all great.
Validation, absolutely. These are wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, so, I definitely value trust, equity, and honesty. And, I grew up with those things being a part of, what we shared with each other in my household. So I definitely make sure that, I uplift those things and I value those things and I see that as important in my own personal relationships and coaching. So we definitely bring some of our experiences and what we believe into those relationships. So thank you so much for sharing.
Ashley, before we go to the next slide,
yes.
I just wanted to share something with the group. I would just love to lift up that many of you, we saw you from last time. Some of you we actually know. Ashley did lift up that we are going to be using the chat at the bottom of the screen. We also have a raised hand. So we would love, we're family now. We would love to hear your voices. So please don't be shy. We love to hear from you as we are. The way that we work is the interaction that we get from you is going to drive us, and we definitely want this to be that dialogue today. So just wanted to
thank you so much for uplifting that, Corinza. We definitely want this to be interactive. So please feel free, like she said, to use that raise hand option or drop in the chat, so we can definitely make sure that we answer your question and we hear your voice.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next slide, we are going to talk about what influences core values. So core values are fundamental beliefs of a person and a principal perspectives that guide a person's behavior with others. So our core values come from our families, religion, schools, culture, and life experiences. So as instructional coaches, it's important that we take time to self-reflect on what we value. So by looking internally, we can begin to recognize when we're being hindered by our own perceptions, our thoughts, our feelings, or even judgments about someone based on their culture, or even their background, or even their way of life. So once we have an understanding and we can articulate beliefs we want to live by, we can start developing habits that embody those beliefs to improve our coaching relationships. So let's take a closer look on the next slide at the steps that it takes to articulate our beliefs. So articulating our belief is a process of constructing and reconstructing your belief systems in a way that will best serve your coaching. So articulating beliefs can be powerful because you can shift your beliefs in a new direction, and it helps to identify and reshape areas of improvement while also strengthening key areas. So the first step in that is really identifying your core values. It's important to have a deep understanding of your core values. And as we stated in the previous slide, core values are written as your moral compass that helps guide your interaction with others and reflects your ethics and what you feel is most important to you. So when you think of the term core values, words like justice, fairness, equity, collaboration, connection, and acceptance may come to mind. And these are perfect examples of core values that can really shape our beliefs. Step 2 is about using those values to create belief statements. So once you have determined your core values, take time to reflect on those values and make them come to life through your belief statements. And belief statements are agreements that kind of guide our internal operating system, so how we interact with others. And then step 3, putting those beliefs into actions. So after you've established your belief statement, it's time to think about how your actions will align with your beliefs. So think about how your beliefs will show up in your day-to-day interactions. So I'm going to put this together in one example for you. I identified one of my core values as equity in our previous post. So I would bring my core values to life through my belief statements, which will probably be, I will always be responsive and honor a learner's cultural norms and differences. I would align my actions to my beliefs. So therefore, my actions should be, I should spark some kind of curiosity or openness to learn more about cultural differences by asking questions of those other than the learner in order to seek more, background information on their culture. And so once I've gathered that information, my actions will then lead me to be intentional about being responsive to what I've learned throughout the process. Okay, next slide. So what does it look like to be 3 steps to becoming a culturally competent coach? So sometimes our beliefs may fit perfectly at first, but other times we may need to make adjustments as new scenarios emerge. Examining our own beliefs in coaching and making adjustments just so that our beliefs align with honoring those that we coach. It's really a critical step and help to build those authentic coaching relationships. And we should acknowledge as coaches and unpack our biases and beliefs about race, gender, ethnicity, religion, and capability. So what does it mean to be a culturally competent coach? So first, we talked about this before too, it's really about knowing yourself and your belief statements and using those belief statements as confirmation of your respect for culturally rooted values, practices, and beliefs. So before meeting a coachee, you will want to ensure that you investigate or understand any cultural differences you may have, because of your belief statements can really misconstruct or misunderstand or misunderstood depending on the cultural influences. We also want to seek insight. We want to have exploratory conversations with your coachee, ask questions to get to learn cultural differences, such as what may be considered respectful or disrespectful in their culture. And we also want to ask what they would like to share about their culture and what elements of their culture are most important to them. So when we're articulating our beliefs, it's vitally important to understand how your belief statements are responsive and supportive to their cultural values, norms, and differences. And when we have a better understanding of one's cultural background, we can engage in better interpersonal dialogue. It helps us to make connections and build that authentic relationship. And then next, we want to be committed. We want to take the information that we've learned and let it inform our coaching. We want to immerse ourselves in their culture, and respectively integrate aspects that we've learned into our interactions. So we want to take a moment to hear from you. And we want to know, how have you honored or uplifted other cultures in your coaching? So you can drop in the chat or you can come off mute to share. And I can say that question one more time because I know we don't have a slide, but how have you honored or uplifted other cultures in your coaching?
Hello, I'm Dominique.
Hi.
Within my classroom, I often just interview the parents before I get there and see what their language is at home if they want to speak it. And then I'll bring those either flashcards within my classroom because I kind of step outside of just doing the labels on top of the material that they already know. So I might have like a word like hello. So if they speak French, I might have bonjour. I'll get some kid French books that they can look into. And I also started doing traditions as well, especially since Thanksgiving is coming up.
That is wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's a great way to uplift culture and making sure that you're acknowledging different cultures that are in your classroom. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I see Lorraine.
Let's see, Lorraine.
In our class, people call their grandparents by different names: Yaya, Oma, Mama, Great Mommy. So one of the things we do when we're making a family tree, we ask the parents to find out what they call their grandparents or their aunt. Some people say aunt, May, and some people say auntie. So we make sure we honor them by calling their grandparent by that name. So that's how it's listed on their family tree. Another thing is the different languages. We start saying hello and goodbye in that native tongue for the whole class. It might be a week. We're saying namaste to everybody, or pravit when we had a Russian student in our class. So we'll do that based on the cultures that are represented in the class that year.
I love that. That's definitely you seeking that insight, that information, and gathering that, and then really following through and being committed to that process of learning about other cultures. That's awesome.
Yes, Ashley, I see the chat, and we've got some things as regards to being culturally responsive in the classroom and then also in coaching. So I noticed Talia has mentioned here, you coach your teachers to embrace the cultural diversity in the classroom by including the culturally diverse materials, including toys, books, and dress up.
Absolutely.
Ruth has said inviting families to share photos and have ongoing conversations with families and children. I'm wondering, I see Ms. D has also said being respectful and non-judgmental.
Those are big.
Very big. So even with being non-judgmental and being respectful, I heard you left up, Ashley, really being committed to understand the cultures of who we are also coaching.
Yes. So really, yes, exactly, Corinza. Really being committed, understanding the cultural background. I think that's so important. And, really speaks to what Ms. D was saying about, not having judgment, but really seeking that insight and getting to know that culture and figure out what's, considered respectful or disrespectful.
And Rachel Grant, I see all of these are amazing comments. Making sure learning environments are represented across the board throughout the entire site also. Love that.
Thank you so much for sharing. You guys are so awesome. All right, so.
And they're still coming in. Keep going.
Thank you so much, everyone. We articulating beliefs is such a big part of what we do, especially a part of coaching. And, we just want to, plug in again, Cox Campus and really taking that course to really dig a little bit deeper. Of course, our course goes into much more detail, more than we can fit in today. So be sure to check out that course. Relationships are the heart of coaching course 2 under the instructional coaching track to get more information. So After doing some self-discovery, unpacking beliefs, we are ready for the initial conversation. So the initial conversation is the first meeting between the coach and the coachee. It's an opportunity to set expectations for the coaching relationship, establish coaching as a partnership, and develop a coaching agreement and foster dialogue that builds relationships. So in our course, you will see that the initial conversation has been broken down into 4 separate acts: the introduction, building relationships, setting the tone, and closing the conversation. So today we will take a look at each of the acts of the initial conversation, and we'll have some time to reflect. But again, I know that, this is a time sensitive thing, so we do not have enough time to show every single video in full length. So be sure, if you haven't taken the course already, to go back and watch these acts in action, because you will love them. All right. So what happens in the initial conversation? So again, the initial conversation is all about building that partnership. It's an opportunity to get to know one another, ask questions, find commonalities, and develop meaningful connections. And of course, communication is key, and it should always be authentic. It's also an opportunity to set expectations and establish the frequency and structure of your meetings. And it's an opportunity to introduce tools and resources you plan to incorporate in your instructional coaching as you work through the coaching cycle. So we are going to take a look of just an example of initial conversation in action. This is Corinza and Shanika. Corinza on the screen is in our videos. And you will see a quick what the introduction looks like. And you will notice that Shanika is the coach and Corinza is the teacher. And then after the video, we'll take some time to reflect on what you notice. So just be mindful of how the two interact in this video.
Hi, my name is Shanika and I'm your instructional coach. I'm excited to meet with you today. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me. And I'm so excited to get to know you better.
Nice meeting you too, Shanika. My name's Corinza, and I'm looking forward to working with you. I would love to know more about how we're going to work together.
I'm so glad that you're excited. So we're going to just spend a little time getting to know each other. So tell me, what do you like about teaching?
Wow, the thing I love about teaching is seeing the growth in my children. I love interacting with them. I love seeing those connections between their home life and what I'm doing in the classroom.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I used to be a preschool teacher and I loved seeing those connections every day. So do you have any experience with coaching?
I have been coached before, but I'm not really sure how that really works.
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's really what this conversation is all about. We'll talk today about our roles, responsibilities, and expectations in our coaching relationship.
Okay, sounds great. I'm looking forward.
Great.
All right.
Okay. Let's take a moment just to chat for a second. Of course, we would love to hear your voice. In this video, okay, let's go to our next slide. In this video, what did you notice about Shanika and Corinza's introduction? What things did you notice?
Hi, one of the first things I noticed was how she asked what she liked about teaching initially. I thought that was a really great opener and a really great way to start off on a positive note.
Yes, acknowledging her. Yes, definitely. Amy? Amy, I see your hand raised. Do you have, okay.
Oh, no, this Miss Janice
Oh,
speaking.
Miss Janice.
Hi, Miss Janice.
I don't know how that happened.
Okay. No
Okay.
problem.
But anyway, I noticed it was a warm greeting, and I was looking at the body language as well. So the energy was,
Right.
the body language was real positive. She asked about how she felt, how she felt about teaching, to make sure she was kind of in a good space in case it had to go somewhere else. And then she even related to being a preschool teacher herself. So that was a life experience that she could relate to. And then she gave her to let her know that she was there to support her as they get ready to move forward.
Yes.
Thank you so very much. You've definitely hit on many of those points. And I'm also looking at the chat, Ashley.
Yes. I see a lot of eye contact.
Constant eye contact, just the positive questions and welcoming smile, a calm demeanor, and that is Shanika. She works with us here. And Ramona Cox, I love that, related her experience
to Corinza.
That's
always so
proximity.
Yep. Important.
Very
warm, pleasant. Yeah, these are all great. I love the body language because that can play a major, a part, that nonverbal communication, so important as well. So thank you all for uplifting those things. You guys are great. Okay, so we can move to our next act, which is Act 2. And it's similar to what you all brought up during our reflection. It's all about still building those relationships and about that partnership. And that initial conversation is really a great time to start and continuing building those strong relationship with your coach. It's a chance to explore one another personally and professionally. In our first video example, like we said before, Shanika asked Corinza a lot of questions about her coaching experience. And asking questions aimed towards a professional standpoint are a great way to discover their goals and overall aspirations. And we recommend having a set of questions ready for the coaching session. And then during the conversation, also writing down some important information that the coachee may give you. But while also keeping in mind, definitely to honor the coachee as an equal partner and giving them an opportunity to ask questions and share information during that conversation as well. So the next slide we are going to go into is setting the tone. And this is a longer video, so we won't be able to show the full length video, but we will. You can also watch that on Cox Campus at a later time if you haven't seen it already. But I just want to kind of give you the rundown of the conversation between Shanika and Corinza during this time. So setting the tone is really about roles, responsibilities, and expectations. It's all about figuring out how your coaching relationship will work. So this is the phase where you'll be introducing key coaching elements, which is the coaching agreement. It ensures that the support you provide will be effective and transformative. You'll introduce the ecosystem approach. And we took a look at the ecosystem approach and the measure in our first session, if you were able to join us. And this measure is also available on Cox Campus in our resource library, but it's fundamental to guiding our coaching efforts and is a vital tool for supporting children in their language and literacy development. During this conversation as well, you'll be introducing the expected child outcomes, which is a document that is critical for helping teachers monitoring the process and developmental expectations for their children, and should be shared with your coachee during the first meeting when introducing new information. And then during this conversation, you will also give details around the coaching process. So you'll make note of how you'll be supporting the coach on site, whether that's through virtual coaching, scheduling classroom visits, and that can be virtual or in person, to observe their methods and get a feel for their environment. So I think the important thing to kind of keep in mind about this is during this stage, as you're setting expectations, we're reviewing these documents that I mentioned, but it's not in depth. It's not an in-depth explanation, but making the coachee aware that these elements will be a key factor of what's to come during the coaching relationships. And then you can follow up with content and resources that we have on Cox Campus, because that will be their primary source of learning. Okay, are there any questions?
And it outlines
Any questions before we get into the video? We're going to play just a snippet and then we're going to have to stop. Okay, let's go. Sorry, Sam.
agreement, and it outlines expectations for myself, but also expectations for you in our coaching relationship. So you'll notice things like, I will always maintain your confidentiality. I'm here to support you and partner with you, not to evaluate you. Other things you'll notice, we'll use a variety of tools to assess your strengths, like video coaching, modeling, and observations. And then you'll also notice we'll engage as equal partners in our coaching relationship. We'll be responsive, approachable, and trustworthy. And here you'll notice some responsibilities for yourself, which include being organized and prepared for all the coaching sessions. I'll be coming to your site to coach you, so it's really important that you're available for coaching when I come. And then commit to taking the Cox Campus courses, because Cox Campus is really your primary source of professional learning, and my coaching and our work together will just enhance what you've learned on Cox Campus. And then lastly, but certainly not least, always keep children at the center of our work. So it's really about the children, and our goal is to support children in reaching their fullest language and literacy potential by the end of the school year.
Okay, Sam, you can stop. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions after watching that video? I know I hate that we can't share the full video because it's a really good conversation. But again, if any questions arise, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and Corinza and I can answer those. But you can view the full video on Cox Campus. And the next slide, lastly, is the closing conversation. So what does this look like? We're going to summarize the highlights of what's already been discussed so that everybody's on the same page and it eliminates any confusion. This is the time where you're going to set a reminder of the day and time for the next meeting. And then, of course, the tone of the conversation, like we uplifted before, we're always going to maintain that positive and cordial demeanor. So we're going to take a quick look at how Shanika closes the initial conversation with Corinza.
Thank you so much, Corinza, for meeting with me. It's really good to know you, and we have a lot in common. We've made a lot of connections together. We both understand how our coaching relationship will work, and we review the coaching agreement. I'm really looking forward to us working together.
Yes, I definitely look forward to working with you also in our partnership and understand how we'll be working together.
I look forward to it too, Corinza. And here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. And just to recap, you're going to take those 2 courses, Build My Brain and Power of Language for preschool pre-K by next Wednesday. And then Wednesday at 10 o'clock, I'm coming to your classroom to get to know your children better. And just remember, I'm not there to observe you. Then after I visit your classroom, I'll schedule a time where we can have a goal-setting conversation. And at that conversation, we'll look at your overall ecosystem goals. We'll look at the data that I've observed in your classroom, as well as any child data that you might have.
Thank you, Shanika. I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. And I do have a lot of child data to share with you.
I look forward to seeing you too. I will email you my contact information, and I will email you the coaching agreement.
Okay. All right. Anything anyone wants to uplift about that? I think Corinza is going to lead us in reflection, so we can go ahead and jump to the next slide and everyone can share.
Yes. And just to let you know, in Act 3, Shanika lifted up a lot of documents. Don't worry, I know you're probably wondering where those are. We are going to show you at the end of our session where you can locate everything that was discussed in there. So no worries around that. In a reflection, how do you feel about the initial conversations? Can you share with us, anyone, any experiences that you have had around having initial conversations, or even if you didn't label it an initial conversation, some things that you have done that has definitely worked in your coaching conversations that is similar to this? We would love to hear from you. And once again, you can always unmute yourself. We love your voice.
Yes.
Thanks, Dominique.
Hello. Hi, me back again.
Hi.
I can say when I have my parent conferences, something that I started adding in is just giving like a little snack, like a juice, maybe some chips or something like that. Just like a slight refreshment. as a greeting, and maybe a nice little happy sign that says welcome, just to, to lighten up the mood a little bit.
Yes, I love that. Keep it positive.
In all conversations, making sure we're welcoming them,
Yes.
definitely. Yes, that's a great gesture.
Thank
I
you.
think this.
Yeah, I see the chat. The second conversation was good, but I feel nervous when having conversation with parents. And I think that's completely normal. And just, I think you could definitely take that suggestion of writing down maybe some questions you want to ask before, so you're not thinking about it at the top of your head. So you'll have them there and you feel more prepared. I feel like that may be helpful as well.
Absolutely. Lola, do you have a question for us?
Hello, this is Lola Parks. Hello, I'm late.
Hello, Miss
Hello,
Lola
Lola.
Parks.
Do you have
I think she's breaking up.
I'm
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're breaking up a little bit, Miss Lola. If you can put your
in the chat
question in the chat or your statement in the chat, we can definitely uplift that for you.
Okay, we see some more things. Amy, would you like to share?
I think that's Janice.
This is not Amy.
Miss Janice, I'm so sorry.
I noticed, because this is actually my first year as a coach. So during the initial conversation was, I'm a people person anyway, but during the initial conversations, I think they were excited. Now, I know your energy has to be up and positive, because they'll meet you at your energy. So just trying to get this, keeping them enthusiastic, and the part about letting them know that I'm not here to observe you. I'm here to spend some time in your classroom, and I just want to hang out. I told them I just want to hang out with the kids and see how they doing, and listen to them, and just, play with them a little bit and see how their language is, some of their conversations they're having. And I even told some of the teachers, if I hear something that you can use in your notes or something, I'll be more than happy to share with you. Just consider me as a support person in here with you. I'm here to assist you, support you, and help you while I'm here. Also letting them know that I value them. I'm viewing them as an equal partner, making sure that they understand that we're in this together. So not going in as a supervisor, but going in really as a partner, as a support person, makes the big difference on how they respond. Because you want them to do the work. You want them to be committed to doing the work and not just be in compliance. I'm doing it because you asked me to do it. I want you to be committed to doing, what we're doing, getting them to buy into that this really works for children. So just getting them comfortable, building that partnership and that relationship with them. So that initial conversation is very important, and make sure they walk away feeling good about it. And at least if they don't know, you spark the curiosity in them for them wanting to know and learn about it.
Exactly.
Wow, Miss Janice, you can just take over from now.
Yes.
I love it. You mentioned so many nuggets that are so important. One thing that I just really want to lift up, you said making sure that they realize that you are not a supervisor, that you are their partner, that you are there to support them, giving them that energy. So therefore they feed off of your energy, coming in with that positive energy in the beginning. There were so many things, and even the fact that you said not observing, because many times coaching has the nuance of observation, and a lot of times our teachers feel uncomfortable with the whole coaching aspect. So I love that you actually set the expectations and the tones in that conversation.
Great.
We see.
Thank you all so much.
Wow.
I'm going to be trying to respond in the chat as we move along.
Definitely. We have a question. I would love to bring this up. We have Rachel Grant. This is my first year as a coach. How do I break the ice? I've offered a training and class ideas. I was a teacher in this environment before I became the coach. All right.
Yeah. I love that.
Say something to that.
Oh, yeah,
we
go
would love to
ahead.
have you talk, Rakia. Thank you.
Thank you. I can answer. I mean, to Rachel. I mean, I came in again. A lot of us, especially with shelter norms, a lot of us did come in directly from the classroom into coaching, and that's exactly how I did break the ice with my teachers. In my center, I came to them, letting them know I understand what you're going through in your classrooms. I understand all the work that it takes to all the work that it takes to make sure that you're a great teacher, to make sure that your classroom is running efficiently. And just let them know that I know where they're coming from, because I was that teacher in the classroom. And then I even let them know personally, when Rollins came to me in my own classroom, I wasn't accepting of it. I wasn't. So I can put myself in their shoes to understand where they are. And that helped to break the ice, because they understood that she understands where I am. She's and explaining to them again, like she had spoke before, I think it was Miss Janice, had stated that I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to support you. I'm here to partner with you. I'm here to work directly with you. And I tell my teachers all the time, I say, when I'm coaching, I'm directly in your class to coach. I'm not going to come in there and tell you what you're doing wrong. I'm paying attention to that. I take my supervisor
Separate the hats.
Yes,
that's right.
I tell them all the time, if I come in your classroom with a baseball cap, I'm coming to coach. And when you see a baseball cap, we might have a problem.
Yeah.
I love that, Mr. Key. I think that's so important and powerful to really be able to share our own personal experiences and be able to be relatable to that other person. I mean, that helps build that relationship. So thank you so much, Rakia, for sharing that.
Yes, Rachel?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, about the question I just asked, there are some classes that are more receptive to me than others. And that's pretty much what I was, I'm dealing with right now, even though I've been a teacher for 27 years, 8 years in this environment. I just feel like sometimes more classrooms are more receptive and welcoming to me to come be a part of their room, and some just not.
I am so glad that you brought that up, Rachel, because that is the reality. There are resistance to change. That's one of the things we are going to just touch on today. And then also with Rakia, just being that your authentic self, knowing that, and we're going to touch on that just a tad today, but I tell you, you guys are on fire today. I love this. We want to hear from everyone, and we see our hands raised. And you know what? I don't know, Ashley, what are we going to do? Answer Tiffany, or are we going to? I say, let's answer
Tiffany.
We want to hear from
Tiffany. Yes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Tiffany.
Okay, I actually take it a little bit further as far as my initial observations when I start in the beginning of the year. I actually do a co-teaching model where we team teach. Particularly, I have one teacher, it's departmentalized, so she teaches the same thing twice a day. So one of the things that I just most recently did was we co-taught a lesson. So I would hop up and kind of redirect or help her in the moment. And then in the afternoon, when she taught the second class, it was more of a gradual release. I wanted to see what she was able to incorporate or change based on her own teacher style on her own, and to see if she was able to notice any differences, anything that worked well, anything that she would change. So I think that co-teaching model and actually going in and literally being their partner is a big step in letting them know that, like, I'm not here to critique you, like I'm here to like make you better. I'm here to support you and give you ideas.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tiffany, so much for sharing that. And that will be our next session.
Yes.
Course 3, we talk all about the coaching process that we do is what we call our co-teaching, where we get in there and we're right beside you, walking you through each step of our content and the implementation of it. So I think that is very powerful. Thank you so much for uplifting that, Tiffany.
And in that light, let's move on to our next slide, which is what makes a great coaching relationship. And so many of you have lifted these up already. We call it CPR, like it's your lifeline. Communication, partnership, and reliability, these three elements. The first element, communication, in our next slide, I want to touch briefly on this, and so many of you have lifted up the importance of communication in our next slide. In communication, achieving that, it's achieved by having that direct, fully committed conversation. Once again, like you said, free of judgment and distractions. I want to focus on this a little bit more after we talk around the P and the R. So if we can click to the next slide, the P, it's so important, and so many of you lifted it up, that it is important to have an equal share of responsibilities and decision-making when the relation in your coaching relationship. If not, it can be often overlooked, and even sometimes your coachees may even become disengaged from coaching altogether. So just being conscious of your coachees' experience that they bring already, their professional background, giving them the respect that they really deserve, because we really want to honor their voices in all of those coaching decisions. And a great partnership building activity is a collaborative problem solving throughout your coaching relationship. And the way that looks is, if you're, of course, we're all going to encounter challenges and obstacles in the classrooms, and facing those problems together and listening to your coachees' thoughts and ideas regarding how they believe that problem should be solved. And then you can always combine your ideas and your coaching expertise and collaboratively arrive at a solution together. The other, on our next slide, reliability. It's one of the most simple and effective ways to build trust. And that is by being consistent, being dependable in your coaching. Trust is built when your actions align with your words. So I guess, to put it simply, it means meaning what you say and say what you mean. Honor those commitments and deliver on all of the promises that you are telling your coachee that you will do. Now let's go back to communication on our next slide. What does effective communication look like? And funny thing is, so many of you in the chat were dead on with so many of these. So I'm going to go through this very, very quickly, because we want to hear from you again. So LEAD, listening, empathy, authenticity, and dialogue. We had a participant who shared that they are a new coach and how to break that ice. And one of those things, like looking at listening, being an active listener by being fully committed to the conversation without distractions, turning off your cell phones, maybe not even having the computer on it in between you and your coachee, having a private, comfortable setting space that's safe for them to be able to share their thoughts and ideas. And lastly, always being aware of your nonverbal communications. So many of you lifted up Shanika, her body language, her facial expressions, that she came in smiling, posture and gestures. On a personal note, I recall having a coaching conversation, and I simply had my arms crossed. That coachee assumed that I may not have really been interested in her ideas, and that was the furthest from the truth. And since that conversation with that coachee, I personally said, you know what, I need to make sure when I'm entering in my coaching conversations that I have to intentionally check my body language to make sure that that coachee feels comfortable. As far as empathy, of course, listening without that judgment, assuming good intent at all times, and never interrupting. Even if we disagree with the coachee, with what they may be saying, still try not to interrupt, be patient as that conversational partner, and always allow the coachee to finish before offering any feedback. And authenticity. Rakia lifted this up earlier, just being open, honest, and transparent about who you are. Be you. Just share information about yourself, your personal experiences. Be relatable with your coachee, and make an effort to make those real life connections with the coachee, I'm sorry. And the last element in LEAD is dialogue. Finding that balance between speaker and listener, and try to play both roles equally. And as you're asking effective questions to learn more about the coachee, using those responses to inform your coaching decisions and conversations, and just thinking about when you are offering feedback as suggestions, that they're not a definitive solution, but making sure once again that you are looking at it as a collaboration with your coachee on how to best proceed on those challenges. So very, very quickly, I'm going to share a very brief video with Shanika modeling the LEAD coaching conversation with Kate. In our next slide, I'm sorry, right there. Yes, thank you, Sam. If we could just play this quickly.
Hey, Kate, how are you? I'm all right. Just a lot going on. How are you? I'm doing well. Tell me more about what's going on. It's just such a busy time of year with having to finish everything that administration wants from us. And not having my co-teacher right now has made it even harder. I know, that is really hard. I remember feeling the same way when I was in the classroom and my co-teacher was out. How can I support you during this challenging time? Thanks. It's fine. I know we need to talk about my joint action plan today anyway. Kate, let's just slow down and not worry about the agenda for today. Tell me how I can support you. Really? Thank you so much. That means a lot. So I have to finish a bunch of my anecdotal notes for my children over the next 2 weeks. And usually my co-teacher and I take notes while the other reads a story. But without her there, it feels like it'll be impossible to finish them. What if you try reading the story in small groups and gathering anecdotal notes then?
Okay, let's
Or maybe
go ahead and pause. Thank you so much, Sam. All right, let's reflect a little bit. Maybe in the chat, just let us know how, I'm sorry, Ashley.
No, you're fine.
Go right ahead.
You are fine. No, we just want to kind of get some feedback or, your reflection on how do you think, how did Shanika model LEAD in her coaching conversation with Kate? What are some things that you noticed about that conversation? I see someone has their hand raised. You can go ahead and come off mute and speak to us.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Awadala?
Yes, Awadallah. Thank you for your. She give her like a comfortable when she give example for herself. She say, I do the same. So she feel like she did in a rush. So she give her like confidence.
Right. And so really, she wasn't distracted. She paid attention, using that dialogue to answer problems and solve that problem and then give suggestions and really being open to hearing what Kate has to say. Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Anyone else or anything in the, so Rakia brought up, I love how she let her know that they have to focus on the agenda.
Yeah,
they didn't have to focus on
sometimes that's so important because she really was sharing that she was hearing in that moment what was happening. We all have agendas and we all have goals that we want to meet. However, taking that time to be patient and being the listener and being open to hearing from the coaching. Boy, I tell you, I love you guys.
Yes.
We are on a roll. Miss Janice, yes.
Well, the first thing I noticed, she did take in consideration that the teacher was having some problems, was feeling some type of way about her assistant not being there. So instead of her just going on and saying, yeah, this is what we got to be done, she said, no, let's back up a minute and let's have a conversation about it. So she was listening to her and she heard her and she stopped to acknowledge what the teacher was feeling, and then she went forward with it and then turned around and gave her some resources and stuff. So definitely good job to Shanika.
Yes.
Thank you.
Shanika is wonderful. And you brought up some great points, Miss Janice. Great points.
Absolutely. Let's go to our next slide. We are going to wrap up in just a few minutes, but I think it is important just to kind of just focus on the fact that, yes, sometimes you are going to face, even after you have demonstrated all of those elements in your coaching relationship, you are going to have some of your coachees that will be resistant to change. Why is that? Sometimes they may not even see that there's a problem, and they won't be able to see their solutions either. Maybe they aren't aware of their beliefs and don't realize that they have a negative effect on those people. And in our next slide, I really want to just lift up, and in the course, we're not going to go into this in detail, but in the course, it talks around the 5 stages of change. In these 5 changes, pre-contemplation is more so when you're just stuck in your ways. Contemplation stage is when now you're becoming aware of the need for change, but you're not sure on how to take action. In preparation stage, now you're ready to actually accept that you're ready to make some changes and maybe put a plan in place with your coach. The action stage is where you are making it happen. And it's important in this stage that as a coach, that we're acknowledging that they're taking that risk, being supportive to them, and also celebrating those small steps throughout the way. And maintenance would simply just be making sure that they are staying committed to the plan of action, encouraging them with those ABCs, and making sure that we are there on their journey. In one of our slides, in this slide and our next slide, I would love, this is only going to take just a few seconds. It's a slide on identifying the stage. And if we can play this, Sam, I would love for you to kind of lift up to us, what stage do you think you are observing in this? Now, remember, there's the pre-contemplation, contemplation, preparation, action, and also the maintenance. Okay, Sam.
Why do I have to use the START strategy to read books? Why can't I just read the book how it is? There is no way my children will sit that long if I have to read the book and say all that other stuff.
All right. We want to hear from you. You're more than welcome to type in the chat. Yes.
Contemplation.
Yes. Yes, pre-contemplation. She's definitely not sure, doesn't understand why at this point. All right, well, I think we've done it, Ashley.
Yes.
We have so much, we're not running out of content, but we're running out of time. One of my coworkers always said that, and I think she's on the call, Crystal. I feel you.
So we want to let you know where to locate these wonderful resources that we have available. It's available on Cox Campus. If you have an account, like Corinza said in the beginning, it's a free account. You can sign up and gain access to all of these wonderful resources that we have available. So you'll just click on, if you have an account, My Learning, you can go down to courses or the resource library and type in whatever resource you need, and it will come up for you. We can go to the next slide, Sam. So we want to know, how did we do today? A poll will launch, and you can just let us know, how did this session deepen your understanding or your knowledge? How did this session give you something to immediately apply? Or did this session give you something immediately to apply in your practice? And overall, were you satisfied with this session? And how likely are you to come back for more? We definitely look forward to our next session. Like I said, we're going to be going into the coaching process, but we definitely want to hear from you. How did we do?
Yep, because we're to grow and learn also.
Exactly. And I want to uplift really quickly on our next slide. Again, we want to hear from you. We are excited. Sam, if you can go on to the gift card slide.
Yes, we got to tell them about that.
Yes, I don't want to miss the opportunity to tell you about this. So if you're on the call, just please hold for 1 second, because we are excited to continue to grow and build and improve Cox Campus. We are currently working with a market research firm to better understand courses, resources, and tools for our members, what they're interested in and what they would like to see on Cox Campus. So we'd love to hear from you, and we want you to participate. A member of our team is currently sending the link to the survey via the chat tool, and we hope that you participate, as we truly value your feedback. Also, it's right in time for the holiday break.
Yes.
So by completing the survey, you will automatically, I feel like I'm Oprah, you'll automatically be entered into our $500 Amazon gift card giveaway. So please take time to complete that survey. Again, the link will be in the chat, and you will also receive an email just for being a participant. So you will be seeing that in your email. So don't miss out our upcoming session, the coaching process. Sam, that's on the next slide. We'll be on February 9th from 3 to 4. We will dig a little bit deeper into our coaching model and how that process works. And then we will see you on our next session that we will be having around consistent routines, rituals, and transitions, which will be on December 1st. We have an infant toddler session from 3 to 4 and a preschool pre-K session 4 to 5. So we hope that you can join us when we discuss those routines, rituals, and transitions. And thank you all so much for joining us today.
Uh-oh, the link did not work. So can we send that link again? Thank you, Christina, for lifting that up.
Christina.
We got to make sure we give you that chance for that $500.
Yes.
I just really want to lift up. Thank you so much for your energy today on this call. The participants, we love hearing from you, and we really, really are looking forward to our next session in February. In the meantime, if you have not already, please check out the coaching course and complete the coaching process. And we just, as of yesterday, so for those of you that have finished the coaching course, we just added another lesson to our coaching course. So it really kind of focuses more on directives and leadership. However, definitely take a look at it and even suggest that to those people, the partners that you are working with at your sites and at your centers. All right.
All right. Thanks, everyone.